So this is the Bitcoin chart. We're going to break it down like we always do. The last time we traded Bitcoin was at these highs here, and then we made some profits. And actually, me and some of the guys are still swinging these positions long term. So the video in which we traded Bitcoin was broken down here like about a month ago. If you just come to this, you will see this one here, about a month ago, the BTC at all-time highs. And we've just been off now because the trade is playing out well. But now the trade is reaching a very interesting place that we want to break it down. But what I want you to notice here is that the markets are built on a real feedback loop. And the feedback come in form of the profits that come and also the losses that you get along the way. And this is the only reason why, if you truly put in the hard work in understanding the technical aspect of the market, it becomes easy for you to pick your tops and bottoms because the market keeps on repeating itself all the time. So the feedback you will always get will always be a product of the knowledge that you have invested in your technicals, and then the patience that you have exercised over a long period of time, plus the discipline that you have cultivated along the road. So the market has a real feedback loop. So this is Bitcoin on the weekly time frame. So the first thing you need to notice here is that you need to mark your highs and then your lows. Okay, so this is an area we already traded in. This high here, we had marked it as our all-time highs and then also a potential resistance. And then from here, you can come and see this low here. That is going to be our next potential support. But what I want you to notice here is that before we could actually get this, the market was ranging around here. And then finally, we had this candle breaking up. So the difference between this new high and the new low that was created was here because of when this candle broke into this. So now this is going to give us the potential support when price pulls back into this area. Okay, so this is an interesting area where we shall look for trades. But what I want you to notice here is that also the market has broken below this low. Okay, so if you see this low has been broken below, meaning the immediate places for us to look for trades is either when the market is actually at this area here or at this area here. These are the places you want to look for trading opportunities. The same way, when the market was around these highs here, we were looking for trading opportunities. When the market was at around these highs, we were looking for trading opportunities. So what I want you to notice now is the fact that for you to be able to trade now, what do you want to see? Okay, yes, the market is at an all-time highs or it is at all-time lows. Now, these are the areas to trade from. So once you have this marked on your higher time frame, you can now go into lower time frames and begin to see how trading is possible around this area. So I'm going to break down what happens here and what happens here in hopes that when the market reaches around here, we can look for the same thing. Or when the market pulls back here, we can look for the same thing. So for now, we are looking at this area of 74,000 for Bitcoin. That is our potential support. Okay, and then we can later think of these other lows here in case the market completely breaks this. But let's focus on see how we want to trade around this area. So I can switch to a lower time frame, which can be an 1-hour time frame or any other time frame of our choice. So this is Bitcoin on the 1-hourly time frame. Remember, this was the highs which we marked, which was an all-time high. So here, how do you begin to trade? So when the market pulls back to an all-time area, which was this resistance area, what you want to see here, you want to see a scenario where market begins to break lows. Once the market begins to break lows, that is an indication that price has a higher chance of pulling down. So once this low is broken, market pulls back into this, you begin to look for patterns here, and then this is where you take trades. Now, what lows am I talking about here? So if you notice this here, this was a high, and then there was no major low broken here. This was a high, no major low broken here. This is a high. And then we have this new lower low formed here, which takes away these lows here. Okay, so once you have this, that is what you begin to mark. And then now, these are the patterns you begin to follow now. Because what happens here is that whenever price pulls back into this area and breaks below this, That is where you're going to trade from. And that is actually where we traded our Bitcoin entry, which we are also swinging until now. And then now, so meaning now, so let me explain this to you also on these other previous, there is a high we had marked. I just want to break it down for you also here. Okay, so that you can understand exactly. So this was another resistance. So from this resistance, what you want to see? You want to see a low being broken, and then you can actually begin to trade. Okay, so let me just, yeah. So these were the lows. So we have a high, a high, a high, and then once we break these lows here, that is where we begin to trade, to look for trading opportunities around here, okay, or any other lows that has been broken. Now, with all this in mind, we need to come now to understand how we can actually trade Bitcoin when it reaches around here. Okay. Now, these are the areas in which you want to really trade Bitcoin now. So when Bitcoin reaches, either pulls back into this area or comes into this area, what you want to see here, you want to see a scenario whereby the market will pull back and then break a high. Once the high has been broken, and then if it pulls back down and then breaks back into this high, that is where we're going to trade from. So what you're going to look for here is an inverse head and shoulder, a double bottom, a triple bottom, and then with the formation of a higher highs. So once the market reaches here, that is where you want to trade. The same thing here. When we pull back into this area, what we want to see here is a scenario where the market breaks a low and then begins to fail to form another higher highs and then continues to break. Then we can trade that. So you mark your areas, that these are the areas you look for patterns. In other words, what pattern do you want to see here? A head and shoulders with a double top, triple tops, and then a lows being broken. So that's how you approach trading. Okay. So you don't need to trade outside the zone or anything. So now this concept can actually also be applied with any time frame or with anything. You can actually, the same way we analyze it on the weekly, you can also analyze Bitcoin on the 1 hour or whatever time frame. But these are the moves. So in other words, we just swing our positions and we wait for market to come to us, not us going to the market. So let's see how Bitcoin will play out throughout the remaining days of the month, but we're still bearish on it. The dollar is still stronger. So let's see how this plays out.